This is the new Projectile Camo that was introduced in Modern Warfare 2 Season 4 Reloaded, a flashy but more in the way of contrasting colors like. It includes an animated web-like design to it, and personally, I think it's a rather cool looking camo. Right now, I guess you could classify it as a rare camo, but realistically, it's not too terribly hard to obtain for yourself. This Projectile Camo is the veteran completion reward of the new Raid Episode 4 as a part of the Season 4 Reloaded update for Modern Warfare 2, and today, I'm going to run down my tips and a full guide on how you can complete this as simply as possible, because with no direction, it can be kind of tricky, and while you have unlimited attempts, I'm sure that we'd all rather spend 20 to 45 minutes unlocking something rather than an hour, 2, 3, or however long it could take if you keep getting stuck in an area and you don't know what to do next. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below. What do you think firstly of this camo? Do you like it? And also, what do you think of the raid? Will you be attempting it for this camo? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. If you enjoy the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay video with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone, and more Season 4 Reloaded coverage, with more camo and Easter egg guides as well as updates, but also for more FPS content like X Defiant and more. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at G Fuel for 30% off your order with code ESPRESSO on things like the tubs of hype sauce, MS Melon, and hibiscus tea, as well as starter packs linked below for the month of July. But that said, let's jump into it. So firstly, some starter points with the raids and the veteran designation of them. First thing is rather simple, but if you haven't played any of the raids just yet, it may be news to you. You'll need 3 players to play this. Unlike DMZ, Warzone, and MP, you can't just fill a team for this. You'll need 3 players to actually start the match. Now, you can use that find a party system if you are a solo player, but to actually start the match, you'll need 3 players in that lobby. Now, also, normally the way to unlock the veteran raid is to complete the standard raid, a kind of prerequisite of the pass of sorts, but if you have a friend who's going to jump in with you and they've already completed it and you haven't played the standard raid yet, you can actually skip playing the standard raid first. Only one of your party of 3 needs to have completed the standard raid to unlock the raid veteran difficulty. Also, talking about veteran here, let's briefly run down an understanding of the stakes of veteran raids. One of the main differences beyond adding more obstacles and in some cases different obstacles compared to the base raid is the fact that the veteran raids only allow you to have a limit of 3 revives per checkpoint. So thankfully, it's not a limit of like 3 the entire raid because that'd be near impossible, but the nice part is a lot of the checkpoints are fairly forgiving. Like there's a set of 3 platformer puzzles in this raid where if one tripwire set off, your entire team dies as the room explodes. But it only resets you to the start of that current one that you're on, not the start of all 3. So grand scheme of things, the stakes aren't too terribly high because you have unlimited attempts and the checkpoints are pretty nice, but it can be annoying if you have to restart over and over and over again. Anyways, I think that's all the prerequisite knowledge you'll need, so let's jump into actually how to do this. First stage or trial is the Blindfold maze here. This one is, from my recollection, the exact same version as the standard raid run-throughs, so what you'll need to do is just guide whoever's blindfolded through the corridor. Have them jump up on the box to dodge the laser, then guide them to the stairwell and eventually up it. This, as a player who is blindfolded, can be rather disorienting since you can barely see out of the peripherals of your vision, certainly not straight on, but one thing, especially when you get to the stairwell, that can really help you, for my probably 24 times running through this already now, hunting for the Easter egg and on top of completing this regular raid and the veteran raids, is the stairwell especially seems to be straightforward with 90-degree turns in accordance to your compass. So due north, east, south, and west, and that'll help line you up and guide you alongside this. There will be some obstacles that you have to navigate, but at least you know that you're facing the right way. Once you have that down, and honestly, if you start to do it enough, you might even be able to start running through this, like speed running it, as crazy as that sounds. But make your way up the stairwell, jump the gap, and then make your way to the cell block with the assistance of your teammates guiding you. Make your way over to the right-hand cell where I think its Price is held, while your teammate distracts the guard, have Price untie you, and then take out the guard or all 3 if you want with the pistol on the table and hit the big red button to get free with Price and Gaz. The only thing left on this stage is a mini shootout with a few AQ soldiers down below from where you just came from with some ground loot, but after that, you make your way to the open door and you'll be able to set yourself up with armor and your preferred weapon loadout as well. Stage 2 or trial 2 is just essentially a push forward. We have a couple of these here throughout the raid where it's rather straightforward. It's just more tier 3 AI and those pesky riot shielders. This one in particular also has a bit more tripwires, claymores, and bouncing betties, but as simple as it sounds, just make your way through the hallway taking out enemies, avoiding traps, and don't die. I found that with how many tripwires there are, claymores, and betties, that it's advantageous to get on top of the trucks and walk along those and the catwalks where possible. But just keep an eye out since a lot of the AI can end up being hard to find in the shadows. After you get clear of that long hallway, you open up the door from the button up top and then get everybody through. The next trial comes down to the tripwires, this platformer that we talked about, where this is the first noticeable difference that I'd say in veteran versus regular. There's more tripwire lasers, they're moving at different paces as well as different directions, plus the really annoying part is that there's betties placed sporadically, meaning that there's not as many ways to jump through it or speed run it as compared to the regular raids. So you have to be careful. Each of these checkpoints having more distinct and stricter pathing, thing that you have to follow. Now, for the first one in particular, you want to take out the guard in the center as you normally would. Then you can still speedrun up the side and the boxes. That's a bit less dangerous, but once you get to the scaffolding, that's where you're going to want to take it one at a time. In the regular raid, you could jump onto the first scaffolding bar and then jump right to the door. However, the Betties are blocking that as an option in the veteran raid. So you'll want to either jump to the bar, then to the box, or you can jump straight down. You'll just have to dodge a laser or two. But after you jump down, you'll be to the left of where the box is if you were looking at it from where you came. Then you'll have to crawl under the double laser as the bottom laser is sweeping next to you, moving with that. From there, you can stand up and jump over to the door that same sweeping laser will be blocking. That's your final obstacle. You have to do that with all three players, again, avoiding detection, but then you'll be able to regroup at the door, enter, and then turn off all the lasers. Puzzle 2, a little further on down the line of the bunker, is just a simple pathing puzzle, but timing is everything. There may very well be another avenue to take, but the easiest that I found for this was to take the middle lane as the laser scrolling down the tunnel moves away from you, holding at the center boxes and crouching next to them so that when the laser comes back, it can be negated and not detect you. Then when the path opens up again and it comes back, you have to wait for the diagonal ones to clear unless you want to jump over everything. From there, run to the end of the hallway in the center still. Then turn about 135 degrees to your left, and then you'll be facing just right of looking directly back from where you came from, and you'll see a gap that you can take where the lasers, when they're higher up, should be clear. In the regular raid, you can just run right across that furthest wall, but with Betty's there, it'll explode. So you have to kind of chart a new path to that corner right before the door, and then hug the wall to get there without setting them off. Puzzle 3 is a bit more platforming and pathing as well as timing, so putting them all together. But the difference in this one is that there's Betties on the ground and oppositely, a sweeping laser you have to be conscious of. Unlike the standard difficulty, you don't want to give yourself the strafe jump to get that quick head start. Instead, you want to drop down, not jump, and then hug the right wall as the laser shifts right. You want to note where you can take cover as the lasers will move back and forth in waves of 2, meaning that it will shift clockwise twice, but then counterclockwise twice while that contrasting laser still moves side to side. So that could be something that messes with your timing, but just be careful of that. Drop down, hug that right wall, then take cover near the containers in the bottom right corner as the lasers sweep back towards you. Once they start moving forward on the first sweep, move up with it and get on top of the boxes. And while that second sweep starts going, you can start strafe jumping across the bars of scaffolding and platform over to the other side. Again, all three players have to do this and you're good to go. This one just a matter of timing, precision, and a little bit of patience. Trial 4 again is just standard. It's a wave-based trial. You just need to proceed through the hallways and then up the stairs, though be careful in the stairs because the AI will drop grenades down them, so be careful. But once past those, you'll be able to crawl through the vents, and then you'll get to probably the toughest part of the raid. The maze puzzle is Trial 5. This one is tedious to say the least. It may test your communication skills with your teammates because you have to have two players go in and navigate this maze similar to Koshi Complex and DMZ, but instead of just having to worry about an enemy operator or some tier 3 AI, you have to worry about not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but 12 juggernauts roaming this maze, all outlined in real time for the player who stays back in this sort of center control room on the board, but still a daunting task no less. Now, if you're the player staying back and giving directions, you have to note that calling out directionally when they go towards the furthest end of the maze, it's flipped in direction. So just make sure that you're calling out their right, their left, rather than your left and your right. But when they're coming back, that is something that it should be all uniform right and left. Now, the goal is to find and take out the HVT, the one designated with a genuine jug icon on that control room real-time board. Grab a key card off him and then make your way to the designated bunker. I've only ever seen 3 or 4 be chosen, not sure if they spawn in 1, 2, 5, or 6, but you'll need to make your way to whatever bunker is marked with the locational icon. The players staying back will have to guide those in the maze and turn off the fire as well with valves, that control being behind and to the left of the board that you'd be looking at. So again, communication is everything. Strategy-wise, it would really not hurt to take any of the following. Firstly, a riot shield that one player could have so they could sponge bullets from the jug if they spot you, and the other can stand behind them and take them out. Number 2, a KV broadside or other fast-firing shotgun with Dragon's Breath rounds. It takes these jugs out in just a few pops. And then other higher damage weapons of some kinds. Battle rifles, LMGs, really up to you. Stuns, shocks, smoke grenades, all can be found within that center control room before you jump into the maze. Those are all very helpful as well. But once you get to the HVT, kill them, pick up the key card, and then head over to the bunker that you're supposed to be going for. From there, you'll have to pick up the radioactive warhead core. This will trigger 2 things. Number 1, 1, the player in the control room base, if you want to call it that, of the maze, will now have enemies that come in and try and kill you on intermittent scales of like every 10 seconds or so. It's only 1 to 2 at a time, so not too overwhelming, but it can be frustrating and it takes you away from guiding your teammates. Number 2, the players in the maze will have to pick this up, but your screen will fade to black and it will be something you can eventually die. So you have to trade this back and forth, passing it off to your teammate and picking it up for yourself. So definitely make sure that you're talking with your teammates. It can be irritating, and especially because the jugs are coming. You're at 50% movement speed by comparison, and you don't have any weapons, so it can be a little frustrating, but you can do it. This, again, unfortunately only comes down to communication. There unfortunately is no guaranteed easiest path that I can tell you to work with, but just be heads up on that. Work together as a team. Trial 6 is stopping Hadir. After you complete the maze and successfully stow the warhead core, you have to backtrack almost the entire way that you came to try and catch Hadir. This consists of scaling the silo and going up multiple levels to catch the elevator as he's trying to escape. This, like the others, is just essentially wave-based. Survive, open doors for your teammates, and race the clock of Hadir trying to escape. But once you reach the top, it's very possible that you can end up beating his lift, so you'll have to jump down on top of his lift and then melee the cabling of the car to hit the dubbed counterweights. It's not really apparent sometimes in messaging, so that's something you have to look for. Once you hit the counterweights, the car will then drop, so if possible, try and jump to some scaffolding as you fall to avoid death, but even if you do, doesn't really matter. The checkpoint is still there, that you'll get to the final trial instead of having to restart, so that's the nice part. Then trial 7 is just simply survive. This final part just sees you surviving a wave of enemies, standard AI, then armored, then multiple juggernauts. Up until the jugs, it's honestly pretty easy, but once the jugs come in, the same kind of tips for the maze can apply, but really I'd recommend killing one of the jugs and then immediately picking up their miniguns if they drop, because unlike the maze, you can use their weaponry against them, and that will absolutely shred through them and make it incredibly easy. Take those out, regroup at the fallen elevator, and then you've completed the raid and you've unlocked this new camo. So all in all, it's just a slight deviation what we see for the regular raid. Absolutely obtainable and something that is very easy to get if you know what you're doing. So you can hopefully speed run this, and hopefully this helped you out in some way, shape, or form. But that's how to end up getting the brand new projectile camo within Modern Warfare 2 Season 4 Reloaded and this raid episode 4. The final raid episode here that we have for the year, which as a story nerd, I'm a little bummed about that we're not going to get a 5th one. Also, as somebody that likes to do these sort of quest lines to get camos and rewards, bummed we're not going to get any more here of this, at least based off the raids. We don't know what Season 5 holds, but these are fun while it lasted, I thought. Anyways, that's what we're going to call it, so let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys like this camo? Are you going to go for it yourself? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. Before we wrap everything up, again, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel. Code Espresso gets you 30% off certain items like the tubs of hype sauce, hibiscus tea, MS melon, and more, as well as things like starter packs in the month of July. So if you guys want to grab a restock or even try something out for the very first time, now is as best as time as any. But link in the description below if you're at all interested. For now, that's what we're gonna call it. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay there with all things with Season 4 Reloaded here. We got more guides and tutorials coming for hopefully the raid Easter egg guide here as of tomorrow at some point, as well as other coverage, but also some more FPS content elsewhere for things like X-Defiant and other games. I'd love to have you in the community if you're at all interested, but for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.